our little virtual dinner scene here.
Man, Captain Solo. Would you like to have a seat at my table?
It's not even. We're on Force Awakens, guys.
We're always in that dinner
Spiritually, I am always in that dinner scene. All of our friends are there.
I had a
Hogan's
moment of
and Rick.
terror. I had a moment of terror just there when Jay goes, "We're," and I was like, "Don't do this to me." I was waiting for like, "Oh no, we're on fucking Empire, Ben. What the fuck?"
Oh, you thought I was gonna correct you and say a different movie? No. I was just gonna say.
I was gonna die even more on the inside.
When we made the Eldritch Pact that was doing this podcast, our souls left our body and now sit in a phylactery that is the dinner scene. So we're always there.
It's the phylactery for George Lucas. He survives off of our.
No. That would be
great
that would
Georg Lucas.
Georg Lucas. Part of my soul sits in an editing room with no gravity and no oxygen inside of it. Georg Lucas. Hello and welcome to Star Wars Every Week Forever, the podcast in which we watch one Star Wars movie every week forever. This week, The Force Awakens. Ben, how was your watch? That's promising as a start.
Squeezing this movie in this week was a good summary of my week.
That's fair. I will also echo that exact sentiment.
I was frantically trying to figure out when the fuck I was going to watch this movie.
I had the same experience. Chris, how was your watch?
Totally fine. No complaints from me. Still a big fan of this movie, so.
My power was out for 2.5 days, so fitting this in was an experience.
I just picture like a dark room as Jay is crouched above like one of those like old wind up fucking like projectors, just desperately trying. I need Star Wars.
These Star Wars. I don't own The Force Awakens on DVD, so that wasn't even an option. I had a generator working at one point to get half the house going, but first of all, I couldn't turn on more than one thing at a time. And second of all, I would have had to have The Force Awakens on DVD, and I do not. I do not have any of the sequel trilogy on DVD. So I was SOL. Yeah, if you do the math, it's about 6 weeks ago now that we had to put up an episode randomly on a Friday, right? Now you know why.
Yeah. The Twitter account's now connected to my phone, so that's terrifying.
Oh no.
I just frantically finally getting service going, hey, I'm not going to be around. Could you please put, I don't know how long I'm going to be gone. Could you please put up that? We'll put it up Friday.
And I was just immediately like, yeah, I got you. And I sat there in the composed tweet screen for 20 minutes going, I have a lot of power right now.
It's fine. I abuse that power all the time to harass Danny DeVito, and that's pretty much it.
That's not an abuse of power. That's charity work right there.
We love Danny DeVito. Danny DeVito, come on the podcast.
It was like a storm-related emergency. You didn't have power, so it was like an actual thing. I didn't want to like make too light of it or like be an asshole. But I was running through a bunch of stuff. I'm like, yeah, no, Jay's been kidnapped by Major Merchandise for, breach of contract. We're episode's gonna be a little late.
I would have been okay with that. Our audience would have understood.
Jay's fighting a Wampa, and
Jay's currently fighting a one-armed Wampa.
Jay's upside down in the Wampa's freezer.
This fucking movie. So we got. So.
Here we go.
Here we go. So we're all just, vibing out in the desert, fucking hanging out with Laura Sinteca. And Laura said the old guy, and he's like, "Yo,
of course,
young one, I have a map. I bequeath."
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna stop you immediately.
Who's this character you're doing? I don't remember this guy.
Why is the sequel trilogy names, other than the main cast? worse than anything George Lucas ever came up with, other than the main
I
cast.
don't know. Sleaze Pagano's still pretty up there for me.
Look, George Lucas, for all of his shortcomings, and this is also a shortcoming, but it's a unique to him shortcoming. He's got a unique ability to come up with just god awful names that are fucking terrible. And so what they've attempted to do is recreate those types of names, but they don't have the same special George flavor.
My favorite's still whenever I tell people the original name for Starkiller, as in Vader's original apprentice,
Yeah.
and this happened on the show too.
Yeah.
No one ever believes me.
This is an early Star Wars Every Week Forever reference.
So old man's like, hey, kiddo, you want a map to Luke Skywalker? Here you
Hey.
be. Hey,
Hey, kid, come here. You want to map to Luke Skywalker? Come with me. I'll take care of you.
And Poe's like, cool. This is like the best Christmas ever. And BB-8 busts in. He's like, yo, Life Day. It's the best Life Day ever. And
I
then
would have
BB-8
loved if this fucking guy is just like, yeah, no, I got a bunch of maps for you. I got the map to Luke Skywalker. I have a map to this place called Exegol. You need that? And they're like, nah, I don't need that. Doesn't sound like a real place. It's fine.
Do you know how to get to Dagobah? I got a map to Dagobah. And they're like,
Yeah.
everybody knows how to get to I used to drink on Dagobah.
Yeah, everyone knows how to get to Dagobah.
There's this guy there named Minch. He was pretty wild.
Terrible. Listen, you get Minch going, holy shit. Wild party animal. He did this trick with a ship in a swamp. Blew my mind.
So he's like, hey, oh yeah, then BB-8 like fucking bursts in the door. He's like, hey, beep squeak, beep bop, and Poe's like, fuck. And he runs outside and he's like, yep, those are bad guys, space boats. I gotta go.
Remember in Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens, when within the first minute and a half to 2 minutes of the movie, one of the three leads of the movie just deadpan stares at the camera and goes, fuck.
Fuck. It's everywhere. It's all over the Star Wars saga. Fuck, period. You know, AAA movies can get away with it. You can't get away with it in the first 2 minutes of a YouTube video or you'll get shadow banned and demonetized.
So he's like, I gotta get out of here, and old guy's like, yeah, no shit. So Poe's like, hey, little BB-8, here's the map to Luke Skywalker, and he like throws it in his face, and he's like, here you go that way, and BB-8 goes that way, and
why is Poe acting like major merchandise?
You know, for not thinking droids are people in this universe, the people of Star Wars really do trust them with a lot of important tasks and classified information.
Oh yeah, all the time. Hey, literal like servant I purchased. Please do the thing nicely. It's like, no, fuck you, dude.
Droid liberation.
True.
Droid liberation.
So,
That's me and Chris's new thing. Is every time this comes up, we'll just quietly say droid liberation.
Yeah, we're just unionizing.
Wasn't the
droids
droid
over here.
liberation movement like a thing in Legends?
It was a thing in canon.
I know that because
anything in regards to like droid liberation or droid rights is always a thing that gets skirted by, you know, like it's something that gets brought up. Like even in the EU, something that would get brought up every once in a while.
like it's glossed over.
Yeah, and then it's like someone would think for 3 seconds, like, hey, what if we were nicer to these droids and gave them rights? And then someone would be like, no, that's ridiculous. Anyway, moving on.
There's this weird. I have to go back and read
paragraphs on Wikipedia for Legends. I'm sorry, please proceed, Jay.
No, I want to go back. There was a weird like side plot in one of the books in the Yuuzhan Vong series where they were talking about the plight of droids, and especially in the face of the Yuuzhan Vong. And I would love to go back and revisit that, but that was just my musings. Please continue, because we know how long these episodes go. You describing the movies.
Okay, you can't get me on a Yuzong Vong tangent.
We just got to the first big F-bomb of the movie. What's
All right, so
we are
Poe's
1 minute and 15 seconds into the movie.
Poe's like, I gotta get to my space boat, and all the villagers are like, haha, we have all the guns. And then the space Nazis descend, and they're like, haha, pew pew, and everyone starts shooting each other. Poe runs to his space boat. He's like, hey.
I don't think everybody starts shooting each other. I'm pretty sure it was very one-sided, almost like a war crime.
Now I'm just picturing that whole opening scene set to Tub Thumping by Chumbawamba. Thanks to you, Jay.
Last rotation it happened.
Yeah. God.
It happened for me.
It's just war crimes set to the theme of Tub Thumping.
Well, no, I made a mistake. So Poe's like, I gotta get out of here. So he gets in the space boat. He's trying to start it up, and the stormtroopers decide to actually hit something for once in their entire existence, and hit the broadside of an X-wing. And Poe's like, fuck, it is now totally unflyable. This thing that is supposed to take spaceship laser blasts is now unflyable.
I love so much that your version of Poe in this movie, his first 2 lines of the movie are fuck.
And he's like, yo, BB-8, now I'm gonna give you the map to go run in that direction. Be free, but come back eventually, cause I own you. And then the First Order is like, hey, we won, haha. And Kylo Ren walks out, and he's like, look at me, I'm dollar store Darth Vader, I'm cool. And then he's like, hey, old guy, I know you got the map. And old guy's like, I knew your parents.
Why did he sound like Tommy Wiseau for a second here?
Yeah, what was going on there?
I did not hit her. I did not. So and he's like, yeah, but murder, and then he murders him. And Poe's like, yeah, that's shit.
I thought that was a weird character choice they made with Kylo Ren, where he preceded every time he killed someone by just saying the word murder and then murdering them. I thought that was a weird character choice, but you know,
they were trying to add like a new trope sentence to Star Wars. You know, there's like get shit on. There's
I knew exactly where she was taking this.
Forgetting about get shit on.
There's I have a bad feeling about this, and then they were trying to add, you know, I will murder.
So yeah, he's like, I'm gonna murder him, and he murders him, and Poe's like, I'm here to save the day. And he goes to shoot Kylo Ren, and Kylo Ren's just like, he hits the pause button, and the laser freezes.
He's got the remote from Click.
Oh God, can we not talk about Click? Yes! I really don't want to talk about Click.
Hey, can we talk about Click now? We talked about 51st Dates already.
We can't do it this episode, I'll tell you that. we got a schedule to keep.
So then Poe's like, shit, I'm frozen, and I love that Kylo Ren can't then like pull him over. He has to get 2 stormtroopers to run over and like beat him up and then drag him there.
Well, that's just
it takes a lot of energy to hit that pause button.
Yeah, that's just a power move. That's that is.
Then he's like, hey, you're now my prisoner. Autobots roll out, and they all
I will say, ship. Like, I didn't. That's one phrase that is scattered across the Star Wars mythos that I didn't mention. Autobots roll out. It's
you remember
really
that?
common.
Yeah, you remember that Star Wars Transformers crossover?
Yeah.
Super weird.
Then there's this one stormtrooper who Poe brutally murders his friend, and he's like, shit, I didn't realize people died till now. I'm fucked up, which
You
I
can't
would
beat
be
'em.
too in that situation. So he's like, hey, fellow guard dude who is
Hello,
on guard
fellow
duty.
guard.
Fellow guard dude.
Oh wait, never mind. Meanwhile, BB-8's just strolling along, and he looks back and he sees an explosion because they blew up the village.
Oh,
but
we're really
just
going
the
frame by
X-Wing.
frame today, huh?
And
They
he's
just blew
strolling
up the
along,
village.
and meanwhile, Ray, who is a person that now exists, is hopping around an old Star Destroyer, just picking up bits and pieces, and she goes back to her town, and she's like, "Hey, Jabba the Hutt Jr., how much foods can I get for these?" And
Junior
he's
the
like,
Hutt.
"Nah."
Sorry, continue.
That feels like an actual character in the EU, though.
Well, Jabba did have a kid in canon and EU.
Yeah.
And he's like, "You can get not a lot. Here you go." And he gives it to her, and she's like, "Oh, this sucks." And she eats the food, and she's just chilling, and she hears a bunch of beeps and squeaks suddenly, and she's like, "Whoa!" And she gets up and runs outside, and she just starts yelling gibberish at a random fucking alien dude. And he's like, "Fuck, she's back." And she's
They
like,
want
"Hey,
to know bada.
they wanna know about it." And she's like, "Hey, you should not steal droids. That's a bad thing to do." And he's like, "What are you gonna do about it?" And she cuts the net that he had BB-8 in, and he's like, "All right, you win." And then he just walks the fuck away. And she's like, "Hey, little ball robot, you should go that way." And he's like, "I'm coming with you. I mean, beep, squeak, beep." And she's like, "No, you're not." And he's like, beep, beep. And she's like, "Fine." Meanwhile, uh, Finn, soon to become Finn, is like, existential dread. I have to get the guy who murdered my best friend
Do you
free,
remember that
so I could
time
then be his
in
friend.
in Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens, where Finn turns to the camera and kind of raises his arms, and in a panic goes, existential dread. I thought it was a really, poignant scene.
and my brain. And he's like, "I gotta go help the guy who murdered my friend escape, so I could then be his friend, and we could be not gay together." And then
Sadly.
uh,
Listen, hey,
he-
Disney hadn't decided they were explicitly not gay by this point. At this point, it was ambiguous. It wasn't until Rise of
Oh,
Skywalker
they had-
that they decided,
listen, they
no,
knew-
these
they-
guys are for sure not gay.
No, listen, they knew they were selling in China. They were just queer baiting us the entire time.
facts. Says he's like, "Hey, fellow guard man, dude. I'm gonna take the prisoner guy to Kylo Ren." And he's like, "That I didn't hear about that." And he's like, "Well, too bad." And then he just like picks up Poe and walks out of the room.
It should have been clear that they were in a relationship from the very beginning when Finn just walks in
Yeah.
and picks him up like walking away from a wedding and walks out with them.
Yeah, you're right. I was wrong. They really were leading with this movie too.
Yeah.
That when Finn entered the room and lifted Poe and just cradled him gently and carried him across the threshold.
Push some hair out of his face.
Then he's like, "Hey, you, Mister Prisoner Man, you know how to fly boats, right? And he was like, sure. And Finn's like, we're about to fly a boat so dang far out of here you won't even believe it. And he's like, so
I'm
you're
pretty
a
sure I
good
will
guy.
believe it. I'll be flying the boat.
He's like, so you're a good guy. And Finn's like, well, yes, but actually no, but actually yes. So then they mosey on over to the TIE fighters, and absolutely nobody notices. And Poe's like, hey, you know how to shoot things? And Finn's like, I'll figure it out. And he's like, okay. So then they take off, and the space boat was actually chained to the hangar the whole time. And Finn somehow didn't know that was gonna be a thing. And then Poe blows everything up on the inside, and then he's like, sayonara, suckers.
Do you remember that
And
line from
no, I don't.
Star Wars Episode
No, I
7, The
don't.
Force Awakens, where Finn screams out of the back of a TIE fighter, sayonara, suckers!
Now might be the wrong time for this because we run long on these episodes. But Ben just reminded me so much of a point I've been meaning to bring up for a while now that I can't let it go now. Is it super weird that in this movie for children that's about like, we've gone over the overall messaging and it's it's great for children, it's good and this and that. People just really start murdering people quickly when it's for the right side. Like Luke Skywalker farm boy in the OT just starts killing dudes super quick with no hesitation and no like, I just killed a man for the first time. There's never any of that.
I mean, he's in shock because he saw his parents get blown up. Listen, there's two ways you can go about this. Either Luke Skywalker is in shock from his parents dying, or he's not in shock and he's a complete fucking psychopath.
Well, I mean, this episode specifically reminded me because like we're presented with Finn. Our first presentation of this character is he's not able to pull the trigger because he sees what they're doing is wrong. So it's like, oh, he's a little bit more. And then not 5 minutes later, he's just shooting at dudes that he used to get fucking like sit next to at the mess hall. Like he's just
not even shooting the dude with a giant turbo laser out of the back of a TIE fighter.
Yeah. Like he has no problem all of a sudden just murdering his former coworkers.
One wrong shot and he air vents half the stormtroopers in the entire ship out into space.
Yeah. Also, you say one wrong shot. Why don't we just do that? People should really do that kind of thing more. Like I feel like people aren't utilizing the tools they're given in the space battles in Star
Okay,
Wars.
now you're starting to sound like
Listen, hey, listen. I wasn't claiming to be kid friendly or like, I'm just saying we're presented with this character. It's like he doesn't kill people, he hesitates, and then his coworkers, he's just like, well, fuck you guys. This is my 2 weeks.
Hey, Larry, do you remember how you like trained me from the moment I started because you were an old school stormtrooper?
Leave Larry out of this.
I think Larry's dead, but it's fine. I think Larry died. I think
Larry retired onto a death stick farm.
According
Wait
to
a minute.
Yeah, we were talking about Larry in the OT. He's got to be retired at this point. He's collecting a nice galactic pension.
Like I'm pretty sure Darth Vader murdered Larry, if I remember correctly, in our canon. I just picked Larry because it was the first name that came to mind.
I'm lashing out emotionally. Will let someone look at me? I'm killing Larry. I'm killing Larry. Does no one see me killing Larry because he asked about my wife, Pat?
Larry.
He's
still fresh in our minds.
So,
go on,
Gary. Hey, Gary.
Gary.
You remember how you trained me since I was 16, and like you taught me how to be a fully formed stormtrooper, and like you helped me that one time when I was a kid and I skid my knee. I have a giant turbo laser now, and you're in my way, so
yeah, me and Mark Spector are out of here, suckers.
Okay, now get us back on track.
So
we're 5 minutes in.
Huzzah! We escaped. And Poe's like, let's go back to Jakku, and Finn's like, fucking excuse me. And Poe's like, "Yep, we're going to find the robot that has that map." And Finn's like, "I hate life." And then they get fucking sniped by the Star Destroyer, and they crash, and Finn wakes up at an unknown amount of time later, and he just hauls ass to the wreckage, and he's like, "Now all I have to remember my friend by is this jacket." And then the plot guides him to the town that Ray lives in, where he discovers meanwhile, slightly before this meanwhile, Ray's just, strolling through town, and Jabba number two's like, "Hey, I'll pay you a fuck ton of food for that robot." And she's like, "Maybe. No. No." and then she walks away, and Jabba the second's like, "I want it. Somebody capture the robot for me."
I want it now.
And then we display a ball sack counter, and then
the ball sack counter.
And Finn's like, civilization. And he drinks a bunch of gross ass water next to a giant ball sack, and then he's like, "Hey, there's a robot, and the robot's beeping at me. There is a woman chasing me with a stick. I am going to become no longer alive." And BB-8's like, "Hey, that jacket's not yours." And he's like, "Nope, it was Poe's. He's dead now. Sorry, droid. Hello, nice lady who just assaulted me." And Finn's like, "Yep, I'm Resistance. We have to leave here now." And Ray's like, "Yep, let's take the space boat." And then the First Order's like, "Haha, pew pew pew," with the TIE fighters. And they're running, and Finn's like, "Let's take that space boat." And Ray's like, "No." And then the space boat they were running to blows up, and Ray's like, "Yes." So they hop in the Millennium Falcon boat, and they just start flying around, and they murder some TIE fighters, and then they're off to space.
I understand the plot convenience of it, but it does still irk me a bit. The Millennium Falcon just being here.
Just sitting there.
This whole part still irks me a bit. I don't know. Like,
Why?
I don't know. Like, I feel like even if Han would have completely lost a handle on it, fucking Lando would have known where this fucking ship was.
Probably.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, it feels
Between
weird
the
that at
connections-
least Lando wouldn't have it.
Yeah, between the connections that Han and Lando have, like, someone should have found it.
Yeah, it's the whole. Look, I'm not gonna bitch anymore about where we find characters in this movie again, but like,
Listen, all I'm saying is that the Millennium Falcon was always a piece of junk, so a
Yes.
junkyard makes sense.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's not that. It's a garbage ship. It's a garbage ship for mostly garbage people.
for trash
that's
people.
the char. Yeah, it's a trash ship
It's
for
a
trash
garbage
people.
ship for trash people.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it is and always should be. But like, Lando loved that trash ship. Damn it. Like,
True.
even if Han would neglect it and lose it and fucking, like, Lando would have fucking tracked that ship down, damn it.
Even
I'm more
in,
mad about what
like,
it says
Legends
about
and
Lando's
canon.
character. Yeah, I'm more mad about what it says about Lando's characters than Han's. I know when this movie first came out, I heard a bunch of people pissed off about, like, oh, how could Han have let it go? Like, I don't think Han cares as much. I think Han cared about that ship because it pissed Lando off.
Yeah.
I think that's why Han cares
Exactly.
about that ship.
So, and they're like, "Hey, let's go into space." And then they're in space, and all of a sudden a big space boat's like, wait, they're like, meanwhile, Kylo Ren's just chilling out, and the one officer dude's like, "Hey, hey, boss, listen, I got some news for you. About the robot, it kind of ran away very fast. We couldn't catch up with it. and it kind of stole a space boat with the stormtrooper and some random person, and Kylo Ren goes, a random fucking person, and he flips shit, and meanwhile, they're flying away. And
meanwhile is used with such versatility this rotation.
Meanwhile's doing a lot of work.
Yeah.
Rotation.
It's a very versatile word, okay?
It's not though. It's really not though. It means like
It
one
is-
thing in
it is
terms
if
of
you let it
the
happen,
context
Jay.
you're using it in, and it might as well be the word "and" to you.
You've used meanwhile to precede meanwhile a couple of times. You've used meanwhile a few times, and we're losing all meaning on vocabulary.
You've used the phrase "meanwhile" in the past and "meanwhile" a bit down the line a few times now, and I know this because I've been editing nonstop for 48 hours.
You've been regularly beginning sentences with and meanwhile, or meanwhile, what the hell? I've lost the other one that you keep doing that really makes me laugh every time.
I'm
so
sure.
then, suddenly,
No, don't keep on talking about using "meanwhile" now.
so abruptly, we are on the Millennium Falcon, and everyone's just chilling out.
See, like, do you
And
know
They're not
what
even
weird
interchangeable. They're not. You're using non-interchangeable words. We're not getting away from this. I know this is a long episode, but we're not letting you get away with this, Ben.
You can't keep getting away with it.
with it. God damn it. So, out of nowhere,
That's the other thing. See, oh, fuck it. That's the other thing. That's the other thing. This entire rotation, you have continually, when it's not meanwhile, you have continually used abruptly or out of nowhere or suddenly for things that are completely like not a surprise. Like abruptly they're on the Millennium Falcon. They just did a dogfight. They've been on the Falcon for hours.
Listen, it's the flow of storytelling.
Sure.
I think we have a graduate of the George Lucas School of Storytelling.
All right, I'm done dunking on you. For now.
We only dunk out of love.
We
only dunk on those we love. That's not true.
Verbosely, the Millennium Falcon's flying along.
What was the word you just used? And when did you Google it?
I didn't Google it, but verbosely.
That one in there while we were bullshitting.
I couldn't let it go.
So we're just chilling out.
That's the other thing. So I guess that's the other thing.
So much chilling.
The amount of use of the term chilling out you have done, you have repeatedly used the term chilling out while people are being tortured or imprisoned this rotation.
So we're just fucking vibing on the Millennium Falcon.
Sure, why not?
And all of a sudden,
suddenly, without warning,
other ship shows up and it swallows the Millennium Falcon. And Finn's like, it's the First Order, we're all gonna die. And he's like, let's hide in the little fucking cubby hole in the floor. By the way, can we spill some noxious gas into the ship? And Rey's like, this is a great idea.
Yeah, let's get into the cubby holes in the bottom of the ship that, though it's a smuggler ship and these are here for smuggling product and people aren't supposed to know they're here, everyone with just a passing knowledge of the ship seemingly knows these secret compartments are here.
So
Han Solo is terrible at keeping secrets.
Yeah. Han Solo is passing through Empire checkpoints like, yeah, I keep my weed in the cargo hold. It's in the cubby holes.
So they're in the middle of setting up the chemical warfare, and in strolls Han Solo. He's like, home sweet home, right, Chewie, old buddy? And Chewie's just like, sure, dude. Who you talking to?
What is this Chewie?
And he's like, hey, there's some people in those secret compartments. So then Chewie opens up the secret compartment door, and Han's like, who are you and how'd you get in my house? And they're like,
Han
whoa,
Solo's
dude.
glorious flying houseboat.
They're like, take it easy, dude. We just stole it from Jabba the Second. He's like, I knew it was there the whole time, and he's like, we're just gonna drop you off wherever. And they're like, wait, we're looking for Luke Skywalker. And he's like, God damn it, I was free. I
That little
fulfilled all
shit,
my
Luke Skywalker.
contracts.
What a crazy thing to just say to this old man who just abducted you, to just immediately spill that you're on like a secret rebellion mission. I'm looking for Luke Skywalker, you know, like.
I mean, to be fair, it makes sense in the sense of the story, but it's still fucking wild.
Yeah.
This whole thing is wild. Rey has a wild week and a half in this movie. Like,
all 3 movies are
if
like in a
even
month.
that. Yeah.
Jesus Christ, yeah. So there. I always forget the time scale of these movies compared to
It's
the OT, because the OT
ridiculous.
is spread out over like a
It's-
few years.
And the prequels are spread out over about 13 years,
Yeah.
maybe more. And like the sequels are just like, here's a month of your life. Good luck, Rey. You're
Yeah.
going to spend the rest of your life decompressing the trauma you have gone through here.
Then he's like, God damn it, not another Star War.
God damn
And
it, not another
he-
Star.
It's just a close cut to Harrison Ford's face, and he's like, Star Wars. Why does it always have to be
The
Star Wars?
That wasn't scripted. That was just Harrison Ford at the initial read through. Like, God
And
damn
J.J.
it.
Abrams, the fucking nerd that he is, just going, keep that.
So then he's like, hey, who wants to see the Raftars I've collected? And everyone's like, what the fuck is wrong with you, dude? And he's like, yeah, I'm selling them to people. And then a bunch of gangsters show up. They're like, hey, where's our fucking money? And he's like, I'll
Where's
get
our
you your
fucking
fucking
money?
money. And then the one's like, hey, there's the First Order's looking for that robot, and I went Zoidberg for a second.
You did, yeah.
And he's like, hold on, let's just talk about this. And Rey's like, haha, I pressed the button, the giant mouths with tentacle monsters are free, because this is what Star Wars is now.
I always forget that there's a window in this movie where you could legitimately momentarily believe that you just watched one of the leads of the movie get viciously eaten by some horrific space monster.
Yeah.
And like the look of horror on and I will defend this movie up and down until this is the movie hill I'll die on, because Daisy Ridley is just so fucking good in this movie.
All
of
3
her-
movies.
All of her acting in this movie, like all of the movies, Daisy Ridley's not the problem with any of this because she's great. But
She's
this
fucking
movie, for me
fantastic.
specifically, just her fucking facial expressions and the way she like emotes and reacts to shit is the
Yeah,
best.
it's
Her
good.
fucking face when Finn gets grabbed is the best. It's like
Consistently, I think Daisy Ridley might be the best actor that Star Wars has ever seen. In terms of consistency.
yeah.
I mean, I could say Ewan McGregor, but Ewan McGregor was given shit on a fucking plate for dialogue.
Yeah. That's the thing. I mean, even when you go up against like, Sir Christopher Lee, who's obviously Sir Christopher Lee, he was given weird shit to work with.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Sir Alec Guinness was phoning it in most of the time,
Yeah. Sir Alec
Yeah.
Guinness came to the
You can't
set
win,
and Empire Strikes Back
Doc.
like, I can't
Kind
win.
That's kind of what makes
that was, by the way. How many takes do you think they were in?
I think that was one take.
I was about to say it had to be, right? Because how many takes in do you think we're getting? You can't win, Darth, and that's the final one. That's the one where they went, yeah, that's the one. We'll keep that one.
So the tentacle monsters are wreaking havoc, and everyone's like, oh no, tentacle monsters, ah! And then Han and Chewie are like, hey, gang, let's get on the Millennium Falcon and
This whole
blast
scene
off
is so
to freedom.
fucking weird.
Yeah.
I feel like what Chris was saying last week, where it was like, we never talk about like the entire Tatooine segment. We never talk about this scene.
Yeah.
The
because
Raptor
it's
segment.
so, it is so bad.
There's a lot going on here. And I'm going to make a really obscure reference that maybe Jay will get. This whole scene always scream, and it's a bonus for me because it's one of the best shows ever made, and I'll die on this fucking hill too. This scene screams someone was a fan of Farscape and just went, we could put a little Farscape in Star Wars. It's like you got these weird fucking space pirates and like these fucking tentacle monster thing murdering, like trying to murder everyone on the boat. Like, this is just a bottle episode of Farscape.
I forgot Farscape was a thing. I
am familiar with it only in name.
I have to tell the story.
You're a little too young to remember when it was on all the time.
Yeah. I have to tell the story because it's one of my favorite stories of all time. My father, Farscape is probably my father's favorite show of all time. I think that would be fair to say. It's at least one of his favorite shows of all time. When the Sci-Fi Network canceled Farscape, I believe this still holds true today in the year of our Lord 2021. I believe my father is still boycotting the Sci-Fi Network because of the cancellation of Farscape. Last I checked, it still holds true. My father is boycotting the Sci-Fi Channel because of the cancellation of Farscape.
Fair. It's also such a You're right. It's a niche reference because it never got a lot of advertising.
Yeah, it's such. There we go. We haven't done recommendations in forever, and it has nothing to do with Star Wars. So that's my recommendation. Go watch Farscape. It's fucking brilliant.
So we were 45 minutes into the movie, which is better than we've been doing all rotation.
So they get in the space boat and they're like yabba dabba doo, and they fucking.
Do you remember that time in Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens, where Rey, Finn, and Han Solo unanimously go yabba dabba doo?
So they take off, and the very Hollywood Scottish guy goes, the Han Solo has the robot ball, and the First Order is like, got it. And Han Solo's like, I know just where to go, and they go over to Maz's castle, and he's like, hey, don't look at stuff. And they're like, okay. So they roll on up into Maz's place, and she's like, hey, Han, where the fuck you been? And he's like, hi, I'm back. And everyone just starts hanging out, and they're chit-chatting, and Han's like, hey, can you get this robot to Leia? And Maz is like, why don't you just do it, dude? And he's like, come on, be a pal. And she's like, nah.
Listen, enable me, Maz. I need an enabler right now.
Do you remember that time in Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens, a beleaguered Han Solo looked at Maz Kanata and she's like, come on!
Be a pal.
Han, he needs a win.
Yeah.
So then he's like, fine, but I won't be happy about it. And Rey goes... I
don't think he ever says that.
Nah, he does. Definitely.
He doesn't agree to... Okay, you're right.
Totally.
You're right. Obviously, your sequence of events is correct.
I'm actually reading through the script throughout these.
Sure.
Yeah.
Verbatim.
They remembered what he said when he agreed to come back for the movie, and they were like, "This would work great for this scene as well. I'll do it. I'm not happy about it."
So then Ray's just wandering around, and she's like, "Hey, I'm gonna just rummage through the basement." So then she wanders downstairs, and she's like, "I wonder what's in this room." And she opens up the room, and she opens up a treasure box, and she's like, "Ooh, this looks like it was used to murder children." And she pulls out Anakin's / Luke's lightsaber, and suddenly,
Suddenly, she's overcome by a primal bloodlust.
Suddenly she picks it up and says, "Oh no, it wasn't just children. Not just children were killed with this."
she gets a bunch of visions, and she's like, "Damn, I don't know what the fuck just happened, but I want to get the
It feels
fuck
like
out
in
of
2
here."
movies, all of these will be irrelevant.
And Maz is like, "Hey, what are you doing down here, dude?" And she's like, I'm sorry. I should not have gone in there." And Maz is like, "Nah, just keep it." And she's like, no thanks." And then she just fucking runs out of the castle.
Why?
Like people normally do when they catch you rifling through their possessions.
Why is Maz Kanata real life Carrie Fisher in the way you portray her?
I mean, it's creative license, dog. I don't know.
Did you just call
creative license dog?
I will not accept any other name for this episode.
Incredible. Creative license, dog.
Did you call me dog?
I did.
Incredible. Like the bounty hunter? Ooh.
So, Ray's like, "Bye," and she runs out of the castle, and Finn's like, "I don't want to fucking be here. I want to fucking get out of here, dude." So he walks over to, friend of the show, Sidon Ithano, and he's like,
Hold on, no,
"Hey,
you don't declare a friend of the show
Absolutely
without
not.
our approval.
Oh, I was hoping
We already have a friend of the show in that cantina, and that's Trento Duava.
Yeah, but Sidon Ithano looks cool.
Unacceptable.
Friend of the show, Maz Kanata.
Friend of the show, Musk.
He's got a red helmet and everything.
Unacceptable.
He's a cool. He sits at the cool.
Too cool for us. We need.
He does look
nerds
pretty
and
cool, to be
geeks.
clear. I was kind of excited when I saw that character. I was like, "Oh, that's a cool character." And then, because it's Star Wars, I should have known the character would mean nothing, and ultimately.
The people
he
that
found a clone and he helped them treasure hunt.
the people we hold up in these movies have to meet a criteria. They can't have more than a line. They can't look cool.
They
and
can't
they have
fulfill
to be,
any purpose.
Can't fulfill any purpose, and they have to be striking for some reason upon view for all the wrong reasons. Those are the people we look up to.
Yeah.
So.
And that dude is too mainstream for us.
Yeah, he's just too mainstream.
Yeah.
Okay, but what about the big alien with the peg leg sitting next to him?
It has more than one line. Unacceptable.
He doesn't have any lines.
No. Okay, he's on screen too much is the other thing.
Oh, you're picky.
I think this sounds like someone just trying to keep Red Hat Alien Man, whose name I've forgotten, out of the club for some reason. Yeah, that one.
So
possible friend of the show, Red Hat guy.
Unacceptable.
Secret friend of the show.
Secret friend.
Unacceptable.
Of the show.
No.
It'll be one of our Patreon tiers. Secret friend of the show.
For $1 a month.
Oh god. So Finn rolls up. He's like, "Hey, you guys want to transport me to a place I don't give a shit where?" And they're like, "Yeah, cool." So,
which, if it's not clear, is a thing you should never say to anyone in a tavern or bar or anything. You just don't Don't
Hey
do
guys, I need to get out of here. Okay, cool. Be ready in 5.
that. Yeah. Will you just take me somewhere? 2 random people, especially like they looked sketchy.
So, Finn's outside. He's helping load stuff up, and suddenly, meanwhile, we're on.
Now he's just trying to piss me off.
No, because I don't know how else to segue, so it's a crutch. So we're on the First Order. I almost said Imperial. The First Order Death Ball the third, and
Ball.
Hux is like, "Hello, this is a fascist speech. Fire the space gun."
So close.
And then they just snipe the entire Hosnian system, and nobody gives a shit.
What the fuck's a
There's-
Hosnian?
There's something I like so much about using sniped and a whole star system. They just sniped the whole star system. Fucking A.
And
Fucking Hosnian system.
every single person just looks at the sky and sees a red dash, and they're like, "Yeah, we lost. Game over." And
Han Solo looks at the sky. That sucks. Bro. Maz Kanata, actually, more accurately, with the way you've been portraying her, looks up and says, "That sucks, bro.
oh, that's rough, buddy.
That's rough."
And
But
then
the great disturbance in the Force is it's as if a former plot point was being done to death again.
It's as if suddenly a series of planets that nobody's ever heard of screamed out in horror and were suddenly silenced despite never having a voice.
and Finn all of a sudden is like, "Hey, guys, where'd Ray go?" And then the First Order's like, "Hey, kiddos, guess who tracked you here?"
Do
What's
you
going
remember
on?
that time in Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens, where a bunch of stormtroopers came out on their raid of Maz Kanata's tavern and just yelled, "Hey, kiddos!"
Why do you what's that voice you're doing? Why do you sound like Chandler from Friends from Fallout New Vegas? Yes, Matthew Perry was the voice of that character in Fallout New Vegas.
I did not know.
And
Yeah.
they're like, "Haha, we're gonna steal your robot." And then the Resistance is like, "Hey, what's happening, guys?" Pew pew pew, and then a bunch of people shoot lasers at other people, and Finn's like, "I'm gonna use a lightsaber," and then traitor, and then Rey's running through the woods, and she's like, "Oh no, it'd be terrible if the big bad evil guy just showed up."
Oh
And
no, it would be so totally terrible.
And Kylo Ren's like, "Haha," and he pulls out the remote from Click, and he pauses Rey, and he's like, "You know where you looked at the map, right?" Yeah, and he just like fucking picks her up and like carries her over to the ship, and Finn's like, "Stop, criminal scum!" And then he
I apologize, future me, on Ben's behalf. Look at this screen. If you're watching the YouTube, if you're not watching the YouTube copy, go to the YouTube copy right now at this exact timestamp and look what he made me do. Look at what he made me do.
Oh my god.
Continue, you son of a bitch.
So Kylo Ren's like, "All right, we got him. Let's get out of here, boys." And all the stormtroopers are like, "Okay, let's go." So then they all leave, and the Resistance is like, "Hey, what's going on?" And they're all like, "Yo,
This is character you're doing.
it's the
Hey,
entire Resistance."
Hey, what's going on?
And Princess Leia shows up, and she's like, "Hey, Han," and C-3PO is like, "Yo,
Han!
I've got an
Han.
arm," and everyone's
Han!
like, "Good for you." And he's like, "Hey, I saw our child, and he's still a bad guy." And Leia's like, "No shit." And he's like, "Well, since you're here, we kind of have this robot."
And Leia's like, listen, motherfucker, you haven't paid custody in 10 years. I don't want to hear a word from
Where's my child support?
Yeah. You owe me a lot of credits, you son of a bitch. Stop selling spice and get a real job.
My dad was right.
Yeah.
My father was. I should have listened to him on Planet
about
City.
Shouldn't have. I mean, really, it's hilarious. Princess Leia, the princess, ends up. Well, we don't know if they do we know if they married in current canon?
I don't know.
It feels like it's implied,
Yeah.
but I don't know because I have a hard time reading stuff like
It
that.
doesn't matter. The long and short of it is every female character except Rey ends up marrying someone that is the absolute worst.
I mean, it's like, but she's like the princess. And it's like, she basically marries a drug dealer who flies the galactic equivalent of like a Cutlass Sierra.
Outside a giant mansion. Just gets out and stays under the shrubbery. And Pale Organa's like, you will not leave this house. And Leia just drops out the window and into the shrubbery to run off with her drug dealer boyfriend.
Oh my God.
They're like, all right, let's just fucking go back to base, and so then back on Starkiller, they're all like, Kylo Ren's like, hey, what if you just let me know where Luke's at? And Rey's like, fuck you, dude. And he's like, I could do some weird mind shit and like make you tell me. And she's like, oh yeah, you wanna fucking bet, big guy?
Try it, loser.
And try it, loser. And he's like, all right. And he's like, oh, you're spooked because where's your parents? Oh no. And she's like, you just don't want to be Darth Vader, dude. And he's like, okay, not cool. And then he storms out.
Listen, how dare you?
And Rey's like, hey, stormtrooper guard dude. And he's like, me? And she's like, yeah, like,
Daniel Craig.
She's like, let me out of here. And he's like, fuck you. And she's like, please. And he's like, I will let you out of here. She's like, hey, give me your gun. And he's like, here you go. And she goes on the run. And then at the Resistance base in the same time, they're like, how are we gonna blow up the Death Ball 3? And they're like, wait, this guy used to work there. And Finn's like, hi, if you just shoot this one spot a bunch, it'll explode. And they're like, you sure? And he's like, yep. And Han's like, all right, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go at that motherfucker at light speed to get under the shield. Because I have superhuman reflexes.
I feel like at this point they could have just asked like Charlie from Lost from Star Wars, because I'm sure he knew how to fucking deal with this thing, because he just knew what was going on with Palpatine.
He
So
hadn't
I'm sure he
defected
could've
from
figured
being
this.
the Emperor's right-hand man yet.
So then they're all just chilling, and they're all like, all right, we're gonna take down the shields, and we're gonna blow it up, and then we're gonna end the movie. And then they're all like, all right.
My favorite part of the movie, when they break the fourth wall and they're like, yeah, we're gonna do this so we can get this fucking movie wrapped up. We've been here too long.
And they're all like, all right, let's go, team and they do the thing where they all put their hands in, and they're like, 1, 2, 3, rebellion, yeah! And then Han and Chewie and Finn are all like, let's go do the shield thing, and then they enter the base, and simultaneously,
Ray has been climbing up
Kylo-
the same for apparently days.
Kylo Ren strolls on over to the prisoner area, and he pops his head and he's like, hey, just making sure you're still hanging out. And
you still think I'm a cheap Darth Vader?
And she's not there, and he's like, God damn it.
God damn it. Someone find me Bond.
Where's Bond? Bring me James Bond.
So then they get on the base, and they're like, hey, Captain Phasma, who I haven't mentioned till now.
That's a good descriptor of her as a character in these movies.
Yeah.
Please, nicely, can you lower the shield? And she's like, make me, and they're like, we have guns, and she's like, okay.
Make me, loser.
Make me.
Oh, you have made me. That's fair. You have made me.
They're like, we
And
have guns.
I am the loser.
They're
And
like,
therefore I will jump into the garbage chute.
Yep, they're like, we have guns, and she's like, okay, and she presses the off button, and they're all like, mission accomplished, and then they make her jump into the garbage chute.
And they hear echoing from the bottom of the garbage chute. Oh no, it's Ayanaga Poo Poo.
Oh. So then, Finn's like, all right, here's the plan. We're gonna go do the thing, and then we're gonna, and Han's like, dude, she's like right over there. And he's like, oh, cool. And the gang meets up, and there's much rejoicing, and they're like, all right, we gotta go blow up that thermal oscillator. And and while all this is happening, Snoke, also, who I forgot to mention until right now, who is discounting the Emperor, but also actually the Emperor.
If you
but
go
also
back
discount
like a
the
half
Emperor.
hour right
No,
now,
I'm going to
swear
right
God,
now.
I will walk to where you live.
No, hold on. So he's like, hey, go blow up their planet, and they're like, okay, and that's all happening at the same time as this. So then, it's Starkiller Base is just eating a sun for power, and they're like,
Good carbs.
good carbs, much energy. They're like, hey, by the way, we have explosives, so let's just like blow up the inside of this thing. And everyone's like, that sounds like a great idea. Don't run into your kid. And then meanwhile, the X-Wings show up, and they're like, let's do a space fight. And everyone's like, okay. And it's a Star Wars space fight. That's all you need to know about that part for now.
That's all we
That's
will
all you
mention
know
of
in
them
general.
until the end of the movie.
Until they are necessary.
Which
So then,
they are not.
at the very end. So then they plant all the explosives, and Kylo Ren's like, I'm gonna stand on this bridge and look angsty, and Han's like, hey, my boy.
There's my son.
Why were you very briefly Obama?
No. Unacceptable.
Hey,
No.
my boy.
Nope. Stop. Nope.
Like, stop being bad, and Kylo Ren's like, okay, psych, and then he stabs him with a lightsaber.
Do you remember that time in Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens, where Han Solo saddles up in front of his son, and he goes, stop being bad, and his son goes, okay, and they hold hands, and the lightsaber's in it, and Han starts to take it, he goes, psych! Ignites the lightsaber, and his father falls to his death. It's a really stunningly done scene.
Brings a tear to my heart every time.
Why is your heart crying?
You should probably get that looked at,
You
but
should get that looked at.
So then, Chewie is like, murder, and he shoots Kylo in the
It was
side.
really a brave decision by J.J. Abrams to predate every murder that happens in this movie with them yelling the word murder.
But you see, you couldn't
Pretty
tell
bold
because
filmmaking
he
decision.
announced it in SWEWF, so. So, Kylo Ren's like, well, that hurt a lot, and then he leaves to go romp in the snow, and then Finn and Rey are like, we gotta get out of here, and then Kylo Ren's like, nope, we gotta fight, and Finn's like, ah, shit. So Finn starts doing the lightsaber stuff, and Kylo Ren's like, hey, remember when you had a spine? And Finn's like, what? And then Finn's spine stops existing.
Do you remember that time in Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens, where Kylo goes, you remember when you had a spine? And Finn goes, what? And then all of a sudden he just tears up his spine and goes, ha ha ha. I have inherited the dad jokes from my dead father.
Tommy Wiseau laughs.
Oh, hi, Mark.
And Rey's like, and Anakin's Rey's lightsaber gets launched somewhere, and Rey's like, I'm gonna force pull it, and then Kylo's like, it's mine, and then Rey's like, haha, I hath acquired the lightsaber, and she announces get shit on.
It's an old ancient Jedi proverb. Get shit on.
It originates from when the first Force sensitive ever entered a pod race.
God damn it.
All the way back to young Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah.
So then my brain stopped working. And then Rey's like, haha, and she kicks his butt, and then she like slices his face in half. And he's like, oh no, that hurt. And then they are separated by continental drift. And then also at this point, actually
like
a few minutes ago.
What did you say,
by
Chris?
continental drift. Sounds like the title of a They Might Be Giants song.
It really, really does.
And then a few minutes ago, the X-Wings are like, hey, let's just blow up the Death Orb, and they do. And then Chewie shows up in the Millennium Falcon. He's like, hey, you might want to get out of there. I mean, grrr. And then they all escape on the Millennium Falcon, and Hux is freaking the fuck out. He's like, Mr. Supreme Leader.
Oh shit, Mr. Supreme Leader. I hate myself.
We gotta get out of here. And Snoke's like, just pick up Kylo Ren and bring him here. Everything will be fine. I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed.
Just take Kylo Ren and move him somewhere else.
And Rey's like, hey, let's go back to base that I've never been to. And everyone's like, okay. So then they all show up, and she hugs Leia without ever saying two words to each other. And then R2-D2's like, it is my time. The script has mandated I awaken.
R2 decided to stop being such a little dick.
R2 is that level of dramatic that he would wait till the absolute last minute to roll up and be like, it is my time. Then he's like, hey, look at this map that conveniently is missing a piece that looks just like the piece that is missing. And BB-8's like, wait, I have the missing piece for that missing segment of the map. And they put it together, and they're like, Luke was there the whole time in that part of space.
And they stare for an uncomfortable amount of time.
Yes. And then Rey's like, all right, let's go do the thing. And Rey and Chewie get on the space boat, and they fly over to Luke, and they're like, hey, you drop this, and Rey hands him the lightsaber.
And he's like, you realize this killed, like, a lot of people.
And that's the movie.
How is that the most succinct you've ever done this
And
rotation,
they all
with the
lived
exception of the first
happily-
time?
And they all lived happily ever after.
And nothing else ever happened
Nothing
again.
else ever happened. That's it. We completed Star Wars. I'm very scared for the next 2 weeks. The Last Jedi is gonna be a roller coaster.
Yeah. I didn't have to, like, direct you too much this time, which I've had to do the last 4
Because
episodes.
You have had to fucking keep me somewhat succinct.
I have no faith that next week that'll be the case again.
I have no faith. Oh, it's gonna be.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to do a lot
Oh,
of.
and by the way, half an hour ago this happened.
I am gonna be traffic directing so much. Love you, Ben. Thank you so much for this, and thank you all for listening. This has been Star Wars Every Week Forever.
And then Han Solo was like down a reactor shaft, so he probably didn't actually die.
He's just
Good
chilling
night.
out with Mace Windu,
Darth Maul.
Darth Maul's legs.
Good night. What is going on?
Nobody dies from falling down a reactor shaft in these.
No, it definitely didn't die from being.
How come Darth Maul's legs didn't get a robot torso? It was like an injustice.
That better be the first episode of Star Wars Visions, or else I'm gonna be mad.
Good night.
Come
You remember
on.
that time that Jay kept trying to end the episode and Ben and Chris just hijacked
Kept
it?
riffing. I'm done. That's not true. I'm too giggly.
If you enjoyed that episode, why not like and subscribe? Also, share it with a couple friends. Bring them into this hellscape that we've done to ourselves. You can catch brand new episodes every single Wednesday on Spotify, Pandora, YouTube, pretty much every other platform you get your podcasts on. If you'd like to extend the suffering, you can catch us over on Twitter.com at SWEWF. We post direct links to brand new episodes every week as soon as we upload them, and you can catch the occasional other dumb Star Wars take, and who wouldn't want that? Catch you guys later.